Hey there, high level listeners. We're here with a brand new English vocabulary podcast episode talking about moving into an apartment, or in British English, moving into a flat. If you want to learn more naturally spoken English phrases, vocabulary, and pronunciation for both American and British English, you've come to the right place.
Yes, that's right. Welcome to High Level Listening. This is our YouTube channel where we give you side-by-side American and British English to help take your English to the next level. My name's Mark, the British voice here on High Level Listening.
And I'm Kat, your American English teacher. So today we're going to share our experiences moving into a new apartment and share lots of useful vocabulary and expressions to help explain the process. We'll do this by reading out a short script each. The first one about my experience renting an American apartment.
And then I'll give you my experience of renting a British flat. We'll read through each of our scripts and then go back to the start, and line by line, we'll explain and help you understand each vocabulary word and phrase. As you've already seen, we've also got these helpful little flags to signal a very American or a very British word. Whenever we hear a big difference between the two types of English, one of us will wave our little flag and discuss the differences and help you understand a little bit more. So let's get started with our scripts. It's about moving into a new apartment, and I'll ask Kat, what was it like moving into your new apartment?
So I just moved into a new apartment complex, and honestly, the whole process went pretty smoothly. I was looking for a one-bedroom rental that was furnished, so I didn't have to deal with buying a bunch of new furniture. I also needed something pet-friendly because I've got a cat. After finding a place I really liked, I filled out the application and paid the application fee. Then the landlord did a background check and looked at my credit score before giving me the okay. Once I was approved, I signed the lease agreement and paid the security deposit and first month's rent. Oh yeah, and the rent covers all the utilities, which is super convenient, and I also got renter's insurance just to be safe. So far, I've only had to put in one maintenance request for a leaky faucet, and the property manager took care of it right away. I'm really happy with the place and already thinking about a lease renewal next year. All right, so that was my American side of things. I'm the American teacher, so this is my American experience moving into an American apartment. All right, so I want to hear from Mark. Mark, what was it like moving into your new apartment, or I guess you would call it your new flat?
Yes, I've just moved into a new flat, and actually the whole process was quite straightforward. I was after a one-bedroom flat that was furnished, since I couldn't be bothered faffing around buying loads of new furniture. I also needed somewhere that allowed pets, so I could bring my dog. I found one I liked after a viewing and then put my name in, and I got it. The landlord seemed nice enough, so I signed the tenancy agreement and put down the deposit and first and last month's rent. After a few weeks, I was all moved in. The rent is all inclusive, which is great. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is the service charge, but we do have private parking and the lifts are brand new as well. Overall, I'm reasonably pleased with the flat, and I already reckon I'll end up renewing for another year at least. Okay, so there you go. You've heard my side of the story and Kat's side. Don't worry if you didn't catch absolutely everything. We will go back through one more time. We've actually got another exciting announcement to make in this episode. The study pack for season 3 is out now. We've already created the PDF worksheets, the bonus listening activities, the ad-free episodes, and it's in our store in the link below. We'll also update the study pack each week with every new episode, and the study pack comes with the PDF transcripts, so you can read along, you could shadow, and study at your own pace. You can see all of that in the link in the description below. Back to our scripts. Let's go back to the start of Kat's one. What was it like moving in?
So I just moved into a new apartment complex, and honestly, the whole process went pretty smoothly. So not only did I move into a new apartment, I moved into a new apartment complex. Now, I don't know, Mark, if you have these kinds of things, but an apartment complex is basically a group of buildings and a group of amenities that belong to one kind of apartment company in a way. So the complex is going to be the set of buildings and all of the buildings that belong to the same company. So when I go through the gates and I type in my code and I enter the grounds of the apartment area and all the apartment buildings, the whole thing is called the complex. These are quite popular in the United States. Instead of owning your own apartment, you'll pay rent to a big company. So the company maintains it, the company paints it, the company does pretty much everything, right? So I just moved into a new apartment complex. And honestly, the whole process went pretty smoothly. Now, what do I mean by the whole process? I mean, you can't just say, here's some money, here are the keys, right? There is a whole process. So that means all the paperwork, going to visit and talk to the landlord, getting interview times to talk to to talk to the landlord and see the apartment in person. There's a whole process. Okay. The whole process, though, went pretty smoothly. Thank goodness it went smoothly because I really can't look at another apartment. I don't want to talk to another real estate agent. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. So I'm glad the whole process went smoothly and I just moved in.
Yeah, it's a whole process and it's a
Yes,
long process as well.
it is.
There are lots of little steps. Yes, in England, we do have apartment
Mhm.
complexes. If you say a
Okay.
complex, I start to think of a bigger place, maybe
Yeah,
with
for
a
sure.
child's playground, maybe some
Mm,
underground parking, maybe a gym or a pool. A
for
complex
sure.
sounds like it has more extra amenities. In the UK, you're more likely to live in a block of flats.
Okay, that makes
A
sense.
block of flats. It can be a tall building, usually 4, 5, or 6 floors. And on every floor, there might be 1, 2, or more flats. And yes,
Got
it
it.
makes one block of flats. Say, this is my block of flats. I live at the top of a block of flats. That's the phrase we use in the UK. And a block of flats probably doesn't have a gym, doesn't have parking, and doesn't have like a playground or any extra
Ah, got
facilities.
it.
It's
Got it.
just homes. That's it.
Okay, so now the biggest difference I think that we're going to be talking about in this entire episode, Americans say apartment, and Mark, what do you say?
A flat.
A flat.
Yep.
Because
So
it's
I
flat?
live in a
Why do you
flat.
call it a flat?
I suppose it is flat. Yeah, right. There's
Yeah.
no roof in this shape. It is like a
Oh,
horizontal, thin
ooh,
flat.
that's
Yeah,
something to think about. Okay, very nice, very
right.
nice. So
So
an
yeah, this is my
apartment
flat.
and a flat. Very nice. Okay, so Mark,
Mhm.
what was it like moving into your flat?
I've just moved into a new flat, and actually, the whole process was quite straightforward. So similar experience to yours. My script is a little bit more British, I think, because of the very first sentence. I have just
Mhm.
moved into a new flat. So I've just moved into. Kat said, I just moved into.
Yep.
Hear the difference? I've just moved into is the present perfect. And the present perfect is much more common in the UK. I don't
Yes.
quite know why this is, but British people use it more often, especially when something has changed since the last time I saw you.
Mhm.
If I'm giving you news or an update, or yes, it changed very, very recently. So I've just moved into a new flat. Could be a week ago, 2 weeks ago, or just since the last time I saw you. British people will use this a lot more often. I think one example is if I'm holding my cup of tea and I drop it, I say, oh no, I have dropped my tea. But in the
Dropped my
States,
tea. Oh no,
well,
I dropped my coffee.
right, you do the past simple, I
Yeah,
use the present perfect. And I
right.
think we're conveying the same message. We're just
Sure.
using different grammar. It's just one of those things.
Exactly.
But yes, so I've just moved into a new flat, and actually, the whole process was quite straightforward. Actually, here means surprisingly, because yes, it can be hard, it can be expensive, and it can take a long time to find a new flat. But actually, wow, it was straightforward. Straightforward means easy, simple. Okay, back to your side, Kat. What kind of apartment were you looking for?
So I was looking for a one-bedroom rental that was furnished since I didn't want to deal with buying a bunch of new furniture. I also needed something pet-friendly because I've got a cat. Okay, so we've got some good vocabulary here. A one-bedroom rental, furnished, furniture, Pet friendly. Pet friendly. So let's start with the beginning. I was looking for a 1-bedroom rental. So I was looking for a rental. I was looking for a rental. And when I think about an apartment, I was looking for a rental. Now, I could rent a house if I had enough money. That's pretty common in the United States. You can rent a house. So I'm looking for a rental. There's a few different options in the United States. We've got an apartment, which is usually owned by a big company. The whole complex is owned by a big company. Then we've got something called condos or condominiums. This would be a complex, but each apartment is owned separately. So a single person owns each apartment. These aren't as common. Then the third option to rent would be to rent a house. So I'm looking for a rental that could include any of those, an apartment, a condo, or a house. So I was looking for a 1-bedroom rental that was furnished. Okay, I want to make sure that this is furnished. Now, furnished is kind of rare, to be honest, in the United States. Most apartments and most rentals are unfurnished. Furnished means it has furniture. And when I'm talking about furniture, I mean it's got chairs, it's got a dining table, it's got a sofa, it's got a bed and a mattress. All right, this is the furniture that I'm talking about. Most apartments come already with most kitchen things. You've got the oven, you've got the fridge, you've got a fireplace. You do not have, usually in an unfurnished apartment, you don't have anything except a toilet and a shower in the bathroom and some kitchen stuff. But with a furnished apartment, you get a lot more furniture. So I was looking for a 1-bedroom apartment, 1-bedroom rental that was furnished, since I didn't want to deal with buying a bunch of new furniture. Now, since I didn't want to do this means because I didn't want to deal with buying a bunch of new furniture. Now, Mark's going to have a very particularly British phrase for this, but I didn't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. Meaning, I don't want to go through this long process, this expensive process of getting all this furniture. I don't know. I don't want to deal with buying a bunch of new furniture. I also needed something pet friendly. This is kind of an interesting way that we use the grammar here. I needed something pet friendly. I needed something nice. I needed something clean, right? So I also needed something pet friendly. If an apartment complex is pet friendly, that means they let you have your cat. Usually you have to pay what we call a pet deposit,
Mm.
or even you have to pay rent for your little pet. It just depends on the apartment complex. But I also needed something pet friendly because I've got a cat. I've got a cat. So I could say I have a cat or I've got a cat. I've got a cat. All right, Mark, what kind of place were you looking for?
I was after a 1-bedroom flat that was furnished since I couldn't be bothered faffing around buying loads of new furniture. I also needed somewhere that allowed pets so I could bring my dog. Okay, saw you waving your flag. Which one made you wave it? Which phrase?
Well, there were lots of them, but I would definitely say I was after faffing
Uh,
around and flat. Those are so British. Those are so British. I mean, it's really cute when you say these kinds of words because it's just so British.
right, yes, I'm proud of this one. So yeah, the first phrase, I was after a 1-bedroom flat. I was after in the past. Now I am after means I'm looking for, I'm searching for. I want to find something. So I'm looking for something quite specific. I am after maybe a hotel with a pool,
Mhm.
or maybe you go shopping. You're like, I'm after some blue shoes. So if you want something specific, like a 1-bedroom flat, then you can say, I'm after a 1-bedroom flat.
Mm.
I'm looking for a 1-bedroom flat specifically. It's not super urgent, but it is what I want and I do need it. I'm after that. In England or in the UK, you might even go into a shop and the worker, the store assistant might say, what are you after? Or what is
Oh,
it
yeah.
that you're after? They're
Mhm.
asking, what are you looking for? What is it you're after? So this is a good British phrase you can use. I also wanted one furnished with furniture. The reason is I couldn't be bothered faffing around buying
Yep.
loads of new furniture. So, first part, I couldn't be bothered. Kat said, I didn't want to deal with it. That's
Mm-mm.
fine. This is the same phrase in more British English. I couldn't be bothered. I don't have the energy. I'm not interested. It takes a long time. I'm busy. Just thinking about it makes me go, ugh, I have to buy furniture, go to IKEA, look online, build the furniture, probably. I can't be bothered. And then the third even British phrase was faffing around. It's a phrasal verb. If you're faffing around, yeah, you're wasting time.
Mhm.
You're wasting time and you're spending a lot of time on something that's not that fun, exciting, or useful. So you might hear parents, when they're trying to get their kids to school, be like, stop faffing around, hurry up. Like kids are
Mhm.
looking on their phone, I don't know, they're wasting time. Like, stop faffing around, let's go, hurry up. So I don't want to faff around and spend a lot of time buying furniture. So our answers are actually very similar. We're just using very different language to express it. And the last line of this piece, I also needed somewhere that allowed pets so I could bring my dog. Again, Kat said somewhere pet friendly. I'm saying the same thing, somewhere that allowed pets. There are lots of different rules or restrictions when you rent a place. There could be somewhere that allows children, somewhere that allows guests, somewhere that allows pets. You can check the fine print, check the contract, and see if they allow. You might have to pay extra. I think my sister pays a pet charge because she has
Mm.
2 cats and it was her cat. So sometimes having a pet can be quite a bit more expensive, weirdly. Okay, so back to your side of the script, Kat. We know there's a lot of paperwork and reading involved. How was the paperwork for you?
Okay, so I'll explain the process. So after finding a place I really liked, I filled out the application and paid the application fee. Then the landlord did a background check and looked at my credit score before giving me the okay. Okay, this is lots and lots of vocabulary, so let's go step by step. So after finding a place I really liked, okay, so I love it. I want to move into this place. After finding a place I really liked, I filled out the application. What's the difference between I filled the application and I filled out the application? That out makes me feel like I did it 100%. Nothing was missing. I filled out every single line. I signed everything. So I filled out the application. An application is basically a sheet or two of paper that says, I would like to rent an apartment at your apartment complex. It's an application. We have job applications, we have apartment applications, we have school and university applications. I'm applying. I'm applying. Yes, I would like to look at some apartments. I eventually want to rent an apartment. So I filled out the application and paid the application fee. Okay. The first charge. Okay. The first thing I have to do is pay a fee. So I'm going to pay the application fee. FEE is basically some money that I have to pay, right? It costs money to apply because the person has to go through the application, call you, look at your background, all of this stuff. So you might pay anywhere from $50 to $100. It just depends. It just depends on the complex, right? So I paid the application fee. Then the landlord is the person who owns the apartment. So sometimes with an apartment complex, you might have a property manager, or if someone owns the apartment that you want to rent, they are your landlord. We do have landlord and landlady, but sometimes I just call a woman and a man the same name. They are my landlord. So the landlord did a background check. A background check is when basically they make sure that I am who I say I am. I am really Kat. I really have a YouTube channel. I really am a real person. Okay. So you're checking my background, my job history, my payment. If I forgot to pay the rent in my last apartment, that would be in my background check. Then they looked at my credit score before giving me the okay. Now, credit score, that feels quite American, but it might not be. A credit score
Hmm.
is basically how well you pay your bills, right? You get a score up to 800, I think. 800 is the highest score. So if you have a very low score, that means you might be in debt. You might have not paid your bills on time. You might have been late. So that's problematic, right? So they just looked at my credit score before giving me the okay. Okay, you're good to go. They gave me the okay. Then I could rent the apartment if I wanted to. So lots of really good words. Let's go ahead and just quickly look at them. Filled out the application, paid the application fee, the landlord, do a background check, looked at my credit score, gave me the okay.
Yes,
Whew.
credit scores definitely exist in the UK as well, and
Okay.
they'll be an important factor if they allow
Mm,
you to rent a place or not. If you have a
makes
bad or a
sense.
low credit score, yeah, they might
Mhm.
not offer it to you.
Got it. All right, Mark. So what was it like for you?
I found one I liked after reviewing and then put my name in and I got it. That's it.
That's a little bit
Yep.
easier than mine. What?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, quite simple. You've explained most of it. So, yeah, I
Mhm.
made mine a bit shorter so we
Oh,
don't
okay.
have to go over it too many times. But yeah, I found one I liked. I found one that I liked, would also be correct. And I found one I liked after a viewing. A viewing is an appointment to go and visit the place.
Mm.
You can go there and see if you like it, see if there's any problems with it, like any damage on the walls. You might also hear the neighbors very loud and go, ooh, okay, maybe not. A viewing helps you decide if you really want to live there or not. You can schedule a viewing, book a viewing. You can even ask, can I have a viewing? Like, can I
Mm.
go and visit and see it first? I liked it after reviewing, so I put my name in. That's I applied. Maybe it's me and a few other people. We all want it, but they can only give it to one. I put my name in and I got it. Hooray! I got the flat. They chose me. The landlord chose me. So I found one I liked after reviewing, then put my name in, and I got it. All right, back to money again. I know you've already paid an application fee. Did you have to pay any more before you moved in?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So once I was approved, I signed the lease agreement and paid the security deposit and first month's rent. So once I
Yeah, wait.
was approved. Okay. So the landlord gave me okay. We're waving a flag here. So once I was approved, so the landlord approves me. I can pay. I am who I say I am with the background check, and I can pay the deposit. I can pay everything. My job looks good. We're ready to go. So once I was approved, people told me I could rent it. I signed the lease agreement and paid the security deposit and first month's rent. So I signed the agreement. This is the contract. All right. This is the agreement. I agree to pay. You agree to give me the apartment, right? This is our agreement. So it is the paperwork, right? Now, you can call it a lease agreement or a rental agreement. Either one is fine. A lease agreement, a rental agreement, and I paid the security deposit and first month's rent. So we pay rent. Very okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. We're getting
Yes. So,
closer. We're getting closer,
uh-huh.
warmer to the American words here.
Mm.
Okay. So we've got the security deposit. Anything, Mark? Anything?
That's
Security
the bit.
deposit?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
one actually.
I see. I
Yeah.
see. Okay. Okay. So we'll start with security
Mhm.
deposit, which is apparently very American. The security deposit basically says, I will not ruin the apartment. I will not destroy the apartment. And if I destroy the apartment, you take my money away. Okay. So that's what the
Mm.
security deposit is for. Now, a deposit is when I give the money, but when I leave the apartment, they need to give it back to me. It's simply a deposit, it's not a payment. If I make a payment, I'm never seeing that money again. But if I make a deposit, then I'm going to want that money back, right? So I paid the security deposit and first month's rent. Okay. So if I move in January 1st, January is paid, ready to go. Okay. Just to prove that I can pay for it. Right. So you got to put a lot of money up front. All right, Mark, tell me what was so American that you had to wave your flag?
Actually, it's funny. The idea was actually very similar to the UK. It's just the phrase for it. You called it the
Okay.
security deposit. In
Yes.
England, it's just the deposit. You put down
Ah, I see.
the deposit, and we use the, and people understand
They
which
know. They
kind of
know.
deposit you mean.
Okay.
Yeah. If we're talking about renting a flat and I say the deposit was
Mm,
£500, everyone knows what kind you mean.
okay.
So
All
we
right.
just call it the deposit. Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like it's not actually too different. So what paperwork did you need to do, Mark?
The landlord seemed nice enough, so I signed the tenancy agreement and put down the deposit and first and last month's rent. After a few weeks, I was all moved in. So I saw the flag go. Which part made you wave the flag?
Tenancy agreement.
Ah, right.
We
Yes, so
very
you've,
rarely say tenancy agreement. Is that a more
right.
common phrase, or is that just one that you chose for this one?
It's more of a formal phrase. We're dealing with legal paperwork, so the
Mhm.
language tends to be a little bit older. The tenancy agreement is the same as the lease agreement. It is the contract that you sign, the rules about how much you pay, the rules about damage to the apartment, how long you're
Mhm.
going to stay there. You should read the agreement before you sign. Refer to the agreement if you ever have a dispute with your landlord.
Mhm.
But yes, I signed the tenancy agreement. Another word you might hear maybe more in the UK is that the landlord owns the property. He's renting it to me. I am the tenant.
Mhm.
The tenant is the person renting, paying every month to live there. So yeah, the landlord keeps the property. The tenant might stay for a year and then leave, and a new tenant comes in and stays, and so on. So this is tenancy. It's the noun of that. I put down the deposit and first and last month's rent. So I
Okay.
had to pay 2 months,
Two
the
months of
first month
rent. I see.
and the last month. Yeah, I think the landlord wants a guarantee that you have enough and that whatever happens, if I disappear or leave the country, at least they got a little bit of money from my tenancy agreement.
Right.
Yeah, it's the idea is to reassure them that I'm serious about staying there. And yes, I suppose it's something of a guarantee to make sure
Yeah.
that they receive something. And after a few weeks, I was all moved in. Feels like maybe a more British phrase. I was all moved in. No, you would say that too?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, finally, we're
All
all
right.
moved in. Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. It
Perfect.
took weeks, but we're finally all moved in. Yeah.
Yes, right, exactly. So I live there. I moved all my stuff, my TV, my bed, all the appliances, all my books, all my clothes, my dog. I am all moved in. So I'm not between houses anymore. I live in one place and all my stuff is finally in one place. You might hear people ask, "Oh, are you all moved in yet?"
Mhm.
Say, "Yes, we're all moved in. It's took a few weeks, but yes, we're all moved in." Okay, back to your side. What are the bills like for your place? Is it expensive?
Actually, the rent covers all the utilities, which is super convenient. And I also got renter's insurance just to be safe. So the rent covers all the utilities. That means that it's sort of the rent is one price. I don't have to go and find an electricity company. I don't have to go and find a cable company. I don't have to pay these bills separately. The rent covers all the utilities. So utilities would be water, trash, probably not, sometimes cable, TV, internet, and electricity. So water, trash, cable, internet, electricity. Those are all the utilities. I think if you really think of the basic ones, it would be water and electricity, right? So those would be your basic utilities, water, even sometimes gas. It depends on where you
Right.
live. So these are kind of covered by the rent. which is great. But again, it's in your lease agreement, it's in your rental agreement. If your rent covers any of these things, it will say it in your agreement. So go double check. But this is super convenient. One price. I don't have to sign up for any other companies. We're good to go. And I also got renter's insurance just to be safe. Now, when I was a college kid, I definitely didn't get things like renter's insurance. That was just extra payments that I just couldn't really make. But now, as an adult, I think renter's insurance is very important. You have homeowners insurance, renter's insurance. Mark was talking about tenants. We usually say a renter. I'm a renter, right? So I have two renters in the apartment. I have two renters renting the apartment. So renter's insurance would make sure that if there's anything wrong, if, a pipe bursts and all of your equipment gets wet, like your computer, you have coverage, you have insurance for that. Just to be safe, just to be safe. Hopefully nothing bad ever happens, but just to be safe.
Mm.
All right, Mark. So what about your place? Is it expensive? What are your bills like?
The rent is all inclusive, which is great. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is the service charge, but we do have private parking and the lifts are brand new.
Okay, that's not so bad.
Okay. Yep. So yeah, actually not too bad. The rent is all inclusive. This is another way to say what Kat said. I don't have to pay for Wi-Fi, gas, electricity. I only pay my rent and then I get all of those included. So like Kat said, I don't have to go and find a company or keep an eye on my bills and make sure I'm paying every month. It's all inclusive. It sounds like a hotel, like a resort on the beach. It's all inclusive. I pay one fee and all of those are included. There is something in the UK. I'm not a huge fan of the service charge. So if you live in a slightly more modern or newer block of flats, there might be a service charge. Every tenant has to pay this when they move in, and it's designed for maintenance and to keep the place in good condition. If something breaks, if there's like a storm and the roof gets damaged, they will take money from the service charge and use it to repair the building. If you have a security guard, they might also use the service charge money to pay the security guard's salary. If you have private parking, they'll also pay someone to clean that area and keep it safe. This can be quite expensive. In some parts, it could be £1,000 a year, but I've seen other ones go up to £2,500 a year, and everyone has to pay it. Yeah, it's the idea is this pool of money just in case. So again, in my case, we do have private parking, and the lifts are brand new. In the UK, lifts are elevators. You open the door, push the button, and you go up to your floor. The door's open. That's the lift, where you get in the lift, get out of the lift. And those are brand new. So maybe they used money from the service charge to upgrade, repair, or replace the lifts. So there are some benefits of paying for it. You do get nicer amenities in return, but it is an extra cost. All right, so back to your place. Kat, have you had any problems or issues so far?
So far, I've only had to put in one maintenance request for a leaky faucet, and the property manager took care of it right away. So Mark was talking about kind of service charges. Now, I don't really remember renting the apartment with service charges, but we do usually have a maintenance fee. But this feels more like painting the front of the apartment buildings or making sure that the playground equipment is not broken, right? It doesn't feel very luxurious, but I do know that if you own an apartment in some really big cities, that you will be paying maintenance fees, but then you get to kind of vote on what you spend that money on. So you might have then like an amenity fee where you get a better swimming pool or you get a better gym or better gym equipment, but it's the kind of stuff that you would vote on. I am not rich enough to vote on these kinds of things, but I've heard it exists. So far, I've only had to put in one maintenance request. So this is kind of a weird word because it looks like maintenance. Oh, it has the word tenants in it, which is kind of interesting. Maintenance. So
Mm,
I don't usually say in my American accent, okay, maintenance. And you can
mm,
hear it. It's so American because it's up in your nose. Maintenance. It's almost like we've lost the TE in the middle. It's like we've just used it to stop the syllable maintenance. So I've
mm,
only had to put in one maintenance request. Now, maintenance is again where they will come in, somebody from the complex, and they will fix something in your house. As a renter, you don't really need to be fixing stuff around your house unless you broke it. So if the bathtub is not working on day one, that is not your fault. And that is not something you need to pay for. So we put in a maintenance request. Hi, my bathtub is broken. Please come and fix it. I'm requesting that someone comes and fixes it. This is part of the rental agreement. This should be part of your lease agreement. Someone will come and fix it, especially with those really big apartment complexes. There's usually a maintenance worker or a maintenance group on staff, which means they are constantly on the property ready to fix something. So I've only had to put in one maintenance request for a leaky faucet, drip, 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 that leaky faucet. And the property manager took care of it right away. Now, you either have a landlord, a landlady, or a property manager. Sometimes with the really big companies and the really big complexes, you have a property manager, someone who is there on living in the apartment area that helps manage it, right? So this is a property manager, and they took care of it right away. Thank goodness, because a leaky faucet drives me crazy, drip, drip, drip. But they took it. Oh,
Well, I should wave it just to show the difference.
yes,
You were
let's
saying,
hear. Okay.
right? So you were
What did I
saying,
say and what did you say?
right? So I would say maintenance.
Ma- maintenance. Maintenance.
Okay. So you've got two syllables. I've got three.
Uh-huh.
Maintenance.
Okay, maintenance.
Mm. And the second one, actually, I would say a leaky tap. A leaky
Ah,
tap.
leaky faucet. Leaky faucet. We do call
Right.
it, we can call it a tap. I think a lot of people call it a faucet. Okay, so Mark, do you think that you'll stay in this new apartment, this new flat that you've rented?
Overall, I'm reasonably pleased with the flat, and I already reckon I'll end up renewing for another year at least.
Excellent.
So, yes, overall, I'm reasonably pleased. If a British person says this to you, then they're actually quite happy.
Oh, are
I'm
you?
reasonably
Okay, because you
pleased.
just sound like you're
Mm,
mid-range pleased.
like, fine. Yeah, this is classic
Reasonably pleased.
understatement when I
Very
think
much.
British people, instead of saying, wow, it's fantastic, it's amazing, we will always say something less. But we
It's
still have the same
awesome.
feeling. Yeah, that sounds sarcastic for us. So even if we are very, very happy, we'll say something that sounds less just to, I don't know, just to calm down, not to be too
Uh-huh.
emotional so people won't make
Yeah,
fun of us.
right.
So I'm reasonably pleased means
Okay.
it's at my expectations. Maybe it's a little bit higher than my expectations. It's nicer than I thought it would be. So I'm reasonably pleased. And I already reckon I'll end up renewing for another year. I reckon, I already reckon means I suppose, I think, I imagine. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm quite confident. I reckon I will, especially when we're thinking about the future and thinking about our future actions. Yeah, I reckon I'll just eat at home tonight. Or, yeah, I reckon we'll have a party for New Year's. Okay, saw your flag. Do you say this in the States or no?
We do say this in the States, but we usually just say it in the South of the United States. Well, I reckon. Well, I reckon. So I don't
Mm.
think every American says it, but I'm from the South of the United States and we say it quite a bit, but it feels very Southern. It feels very Southern.
Yes, right. I
Well, I
reckon.
reckon. I reckon we should go before it rains, right? And it just,
Mm.
even just, I reckon. I reckon.
Right.
So it sounds
Sure,
very funny
yes.
coming from a British accent.
Right. Yes, we probably gave it to you in the first place.
Oh,
But
thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. But yeah, you'll hear it a lot in the UK, and I reckon I'll end up renewing.
Mhm.
After end up, remember to use the ing. I'll end up renewing. I'll end up staying. I'll end up living here a little bit longer. So yeah, I'm happy with the flat. I already reckon I'll end up renewing for another year at least. So what about you? Last line of your script. Do you think you'll stay in your apartment?
Yeah, I'm reasonably pleased.
Oh,
No,
very good.
I'm
Yes, splendid.
I'm really happy with the place. I'm really happy with the place. Now, I guess that is an understatement for us because am I really happy? I mean, no, probably not. But we do use a little bit, a little bit more excitement, right? There's a little bit more excitement in my language. Yeah, I'm really happy with the place and already thinking about a lease renewal next year. So, a lease renewal, remember we signed that lease agreement, rental agreement, the contract, and a renewal is the contract again, but for the following year. Same apartment. I want to extend my lease. I want to renew my lease, meaning I'm going to stay in the same place, but I'm going to add an extra year. All right. So well done, everybody. We went through both of the scripts, both American and British English. So let me review my vocabulary from my script. An apartment complex, the whole process, a one-bedroom rental, furnished, furniture, pet friendly, filled out the application, paid the application fee, the landlord, to do a background check, my credit score, give me the okay, approved, signed the lease agreement, paid the security deposit, first month's rent, utilities, renter's insurance, maintenance request, a leaky faucet, the property manager, and a lease renewal. Ooh, lots of vocabulary there.
Yes, and here's the key vocabulary from my script. A new flat, a one-bedroom flat, furnished, somewhere that allows pets, a viewing, the landlord, the tenancy agreement, put down the deposit, first and last month's rent, I was all moved in, all inclusive, the service charge, I'll end up renewing for another year.
All right, there you have it. We've just gone through a wide range of vocabulary and expressions to help you talk about moving into a new apartment or living in a brand new flat. So let us know in the comments, did you have a similar experience moving into your place? Were any words or phrases new for you in this episode? We love hearing from you guys, and we do read and reply to every single comment, so please get in touch.
Yes, please do. Once again, the Season 3 High-Level Listening Study Pack is available now too. It includes this episode with the PDF worksheets, the bonus listening activities, the ad-free episodes, the PDF transcripts as well. The link is in the description below. We think it'll help you get the most out of these episodes and really take your English to the next level.
Don't forget to click like and subscribe to our channel as well so you never miss any of the 2 videos that we put out each week. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time for another episode here on High Level Listening very soon. Thank you, everybody.